Hi kids, it's Lisa here from Mindful Tarot, and I want to do a really quick video today that I've wanted to do for a couple of weeks now, ever since I bought this on eBay. Yeah, and so let me dive right in. So I have had the Wild Unknown second edition for about a year now, and I mean, I live in Oregon, not just because Kim Kranz is in Portland, but just everything about this deck speaks to the world I feel I inhabit at a very deep level. And it's funny because almost for that reason, I haven't really worked with it. There's just it's one of those, I don't know if this happens to any of you, but it's been one of those decks that's been sort of like stewing, like simmering in my consciousness for, a while now, until I finally got a copy. And then even then, a year later, sort of only now have I really begun diving in. And actually, I've been diving into it not through my second edition, the beautiful self-published second edition, although, as everyone says, ew, barcode, icky, but through the mass, since I've gotten the mass-produced copy of it, which I've had for, I don't know, about a month now, the Harper Elixir. Oh, my Lord. What an incredible mass-produced, I mean, I don't even know how it's possible. Like, if you can do this, why isn't every freaking mass-produced deck produced with this quality? If you can do this, put it out on freaking Amazon for 23 bucks, everything should be that way. So I don't have it in the box anymore. I have it under my a beautiful piece of calcite that a friend gave me. But I love it. Actually, in many ways, as Kelly Fitzgerald has said, the cardstock is easier to work. I mean, it's thinner and easier to work with. Anyway, I love it. I love the fact that there are no copyright on this, unlike the first and second edition. So the third edition, I loves me my third edition. But I wanted, as I started to get, start working with it, I wanted to, I don't think I'm a completist per se, but I wanted to complete my, my Kim Kranz deck. I mean, I also have the Animal Spirit deck, which also, I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. Apologies. I have the Animal Spirit deck, have not even begun to work with that. So there's this way in which I love Kim Kranz, I'm drawn to collect everything. And yet, I'm only now really starting to work with this stuff in earnest. So I wanted a first edition. Went to eBay, found for a really fabulous price this was sealed when I got it, first edition. The minute I took it out of the mailing envelope, I thought, this isn't the same size box as this. Can you see? That's weird. It should, if anything, from everything I know, it should be, I'm sorry, I'm filming this all catawampus. This should be a bigger, thicker, higher box, not, it's the same depth, but it's smaller. That's weird. And look, there's no thumb cutouts. That's weird, I thought. But you know how you buy something and you think, it's the first edition. Maybe I just don't know. Maybe, maybe today gravity makes things fall up instead of down. So I broke the seal, and then I was like, wow, why is this so hard to open? And then I opened it up, and do you see the distance between the top of the box and what's inside? I thought, that's weird. These cards are clearly much thinner than the second edition. Something is wrong. At this point, I realized that I actually knew something about this. I knew something about these knockoff decks of the first edition that are printed in China. That's what this is. So, knockoff edition of the first edition, printed in China. It has no thumb cutouts. If you see it on eBay and you see that there are no cutouts to help you open it, right? Something's up. Otherwise, it's a little bit hard to tell from eBay photographs because the bottom looks exactly like the bottom of the other one. The printing on it is the same, and unless they do a comparison shot, it's hard to tell the size of the box. This is the Chinese knockoff first edition. So I then found the one place online where you can still get copies of the first edition sealed for $85 with shipping and handling. I'll put the, not with that extra, I'll put that in the, down there. And I have it, and I haven't opened it yet. I've been waiting to do this little video, even though, you know, an unboxing of the first edition of the Wild Unknown, you all know what the Wild Unknown looks like, but I kind of wanted to do it in person and to be able to do a comparison of this with the knockoff Chinese edition, okay? So I'm not going to compare, even though I could compare all three editions. I'm not going to do that because you've seen them before. Or all four editions, I guess, because I have the Chinese edition too. All right, I'm going to pause now and break the, well, maybe I can do it. Now I'm going to pause and I'm going to break the cellophane. Okay, I'm back. So I have carefully opened my legitimate, beautifully sealed, new in box, new old stock as they call it, copy of the first edition. So first thing to notice, you can sort of pick it up. Actually, the camera accentuates it. The coloring of the bottom is a little bit, the black is a little bit warmer, but I think it gets accentuated a little bit in the way it's picking up on the camera. But mainly, see the difference in sizes of these two boxes. They're roughly no, they're not the same. What am I saying? They're not the same height at all. The legitimate one is a hair taller, but the legitimate one is also much bigger. It has the thumb cutouts. Now, one thing that I will say is the quality of the paper, that feel that's so distinctive to the Wild Unknown, where it's matte but also silky, that beautiful silky feel. It's on the knockoff too. Actually, the legitimate one has a little bit more texture to it, but the quality of the paper on this is pretty nice. Also a snug fit here, but nowhere near as snug a fit as here, right? This box is just, this box is just not designed, it is not built, constructed with the same level of detail. But, you know, I sort of have this feeling that it's probably the same, because weren't the original first editions actually also printed in China? If anyone knows the answer to that, let me know. So definitely the second editions were printed in Hong Kong. I know that from the ISBN. Oh, it's printed on there. Actually, is it printed on this one too? Yeah, printed in Hong Kong. So the first edition, like the second edition, printed in Hong Kong. My guess is that maybe the same Chinese manufacturers were involved in both editions. And actually the quality of the box between the first edition and the second edition, I think the second edition boxes, this edition box is a higher quality than the first edition. We've got the ribbon, the beautiful ribbon that I'm used to from the second and third editions. No ribbon, of course, in the knockoff. I won't be surprised to find, the paper quality of the insert. This is just sort of plain 20-pound white paper, like you might. Oh, it might be 24-pound. I'm kind of a paper geek, guys. But, you know, the one that came in the knockoff is just, you know, the paper doesn't feel very special. The one that came in the original, it's like the paper insert, smaller than the paper insert for the second edition, but it has that kind of more textured, it's cream as opposed to white. But the quality of the print is the same sort of degree of legibility. It's just the paper stock is not as nice. And then the cards themselves they're not shrink wrapped in the first, but they have that little bit of cellophane. And in the knockoff, this is all going to be, I've put in a little post-it here to help me take these out. In the knockoff, I believe that they were shrink wrapped. I can't remember now. Okay. You all know, I think, what the first edition of the Wild Unknown looks like. The Chinese version, let me just do a side-by-side, see if I can find the world. I mean, these aren't bad, you know, I mean, they don't feel like the kind of cards that we picture Kim Kranz's card stock feeling like. They're much slicker and the cardstock is thinner. I'm just looking so I can do a good example. Maybe I'll do the Empress. They feel, what do they feel like? They feel a little bit like the Centennial version of the Rider-Waite. I mean, they're sort of nicer cardstock than the crappiest cardstock you could imagine. Nicer than Llewellyn. They're, you know, they would be, you know, they're not bad. They're just not the Wild Unknown. Sorry, I'm taking off this plastic. So let me find now the Empress so I can compare. Okay. So, first edition. Matte, thick stock. This is the Chinese version of it. I don't know if there's any way for me to capture this on. Can you see how that has sort of more reflectivity to it than that? I don't know. I don't think this is coming up on the camera, so what am I doing? But in terms of the size and, yeah, in terms of the size, it's the same size. Now, one thing, I don't know if you'll remotely be able to see this. Let me see if I can, how can I make this visible? Let me see if this works. Trying to put it against something black. Here we are on Lisa's amateur hour as she tries to figure out how to use her camera. Okay, so can you see how with this one, the corners are not as round as with this one? So it's those little details in the manufacturing process for the Wild Unknown that make a big difference. Like, you know, the extent to which corners are really round, as you can see in the back one, or less round, give that kind of custom feeling. You know, the original version, the ways in which the corners are rounded and the relationship to the squareness of the internal frame, right? It's just, it's like brilliant. It's perfect. It's aesthetically perfect. Versus with this, where the rounding of the corner, it's just too large a diameter rounding for the pointiness of the internal frame. It's a small detail, but it's like, you know, a perfectly designed detail. Okay, I'm babbling on and on here. I don't know if this is helpful, but there you have it. These cards in terms of coloring, I can't distinguish a huge difference. The Chinese knockoff, the black, the colors are less subtle. The black is more black in the first edition. It's got more of a sepia, just as the black on the box is a warmer black, more toward sepia, more toward brown, less toward the sharp black. It's sort of an aesthetic. I mean, they're both kind of, you know, the coloring, whether you like, you know, some could like this more stark contrast more than this warmer tone, but this is the original, right? This is the Wild Unknown that we have come to know and love. Anyway, I now have this Chinese version, and even though I am a completist, I guess it turns out, I want to complete my deck collection. I don't think I'm really a completist, but even though I'm sort of obsessive and I want lots and lots and lots of things that I love, what I might do, I'm thinking about doing, I might trim my Chinese knockoff so that I have a small profile trimmed Wild Unknown that I take with me. I don't know. I've been looking at people's trimmed decks, and it's sort of intriguing to me. All right, enough said. This video was supposed to be just a quick nubbin of a video, a quick little tidbit of a video, and it's kind of dragging on, and I don't know if it's going to be interesting to anyone but me, but here you go. There you are. Lots of love, folks. Greetings to you from a very cold Oregon. I hope your winters or summers are going well. Talk to you later. Hi, guys. Just one last piece. I think if I want to get a little bit more precise about the quality of the cardstock, it's better than the Llewellyn, sort of classic Llewellyn, thin, shiny. You know, I mean, these aren't terrible. This is the Shadowscape. These are, you know, perfectly nice decks, but they're not anything special. You don't say, oh, I love the cardstock. But not as nice as something like the Centennial Rider-Waite-Smith, which is a little bit thicker. The hand feel, the touch of this knockoff first edition is similar to the touch of something like the Centennial. And both of these are similar to a true Wild Unknown. But this isn't quite as beefy, not quite as thick as the Coleman Smith. So better than Llewellyn, not as good as this, definitely nowhere near the quality of a legitimate Wild Unknown, but still, you know, if this were all you knew of the Wild Unknown, you probably wouldn't completely, you know, you wouldn't be selling your firstborn child for it, but you'd be like, yeah, this is a cool deck. So there you have it. If I do trim my knockoff, I will come back and show you my handiwork. Until then, I'm going to now say goodbye again. Goodbye. Mwah.